Many of us believe that hell only exists in the afterlife. But what if I told you that hell exists on this planet as well? You heard right. But in contrast to the hell that is in the afterlife, the offenders of this hell are those unfortunate who happen to be born in North Korea. Yes, North Korea resembles a hell on planet Earth because it's a country devoid of human rights or basic freedoms and ruled by a defied leader and his cult of personality. So, if you live in one of the most closed, strange, and hostile countries and have to survive with very little food and can only quench your thirst by drinking from mud puddles on the ground, what would you do? Plus, if you are not careful and raise your voice in public, you will have to spend the rest of your life in a political prison camp. You will have to live a life that is more miserable than you can imagine. You will be tortured, beaten, and the guards will do whatever they want to you because there is no one to hold them accountable for any cruelty. There, you will cry for a quick and painless death. But this wish won't be fulfilled there, as you will have to crawl your whole life more miserably and painfully than anyone can imagine, and have to die slowly in a very painful way. In this case, you'd most likely want to flee from North Korea, but it's not an easy task though. The North Korean government is very strict in this sense too. Of course, it is violating the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, but it doesn't care. Therefore, it is almost impossible to leave the country. People trying to leave the country are considered traitors, criminals, and even if you get caught while escaping, you will be condemned to a long list of terrible tortures. And at last, your life will be taken at a public execution to make an example of you. Even if someone is successful in their escape, and once the government discovers you have escaped, they will imprison not only your family, but 3 generations of the family in labor camps. That's a hard thing to take in. You escape, and your family gets abused for it. It's psychological warfare at its finest, a way to keep people inside North Korea forever. However, all of this still does not stop North Koreans from risking their lives to escape. In today's video, we will talk about some possible ways to escape North Korea. Escaping North Korea is not easy, so these routes are obviously much more dangerous, with a less than 50% chance of success, no matter which route you take. In some cases, the chances are even lower, as low as 10%. Among them, the first way to escape through the DMZ border or demilitarized zone between South and North Korea. You will think that it is an easy task. Just come to the border and jump across to the other side. Well, it's not the case. Let me tell you that the demilitarized zone stretches up to 250 kilometers, and a total of about 2 million troops protect the DMZ, making it the most heavily militarized border in the whole world. If you attempt to flee in this direction, there is a high probability that you will either step on a landmine, become electrocuted, or be shot dead by the border security force in horrific ways. This is the most dangerous way to escape North Korea. However, this does not mean that escaping this way is impossible. Under these circumstances, it is extremely unlikely that any civilizations will reach the other side in one piece. Because of this, practically all successful demilitarized zone crossings have been made by North Korean soldiers who are tasked with the duty of watching over the border. And when they find an opportunity, something like smog, not to be clearly seen from a distance, then they make a run for the other side. So for civilians, this route is almost impossible. In this route, the chances of arriving safely on the other side are less than 10%. The next way is to escape by sea route. The sea route is somewhat easier than the DMZ border. In fact, the most successful escapes are made possible by this route. Here again, the boat arrangement is a big issue. All the boats available there are only paddle boats. Engine boats are mostly owned by the North Korean military. In the paddle boat with no real navigational equipment, there is a high chance that you will be wiped out by sea waves or even brought back to North Korea. Another problem here is that the North Korean government is also well aware of the escape route here, so they have increased their naval presence in this area, and there is a high chance that you're likely to be caught by their naval patrols. So if you want to escape by boat, you can do it from either the west or east coast. In any case, South Korea is the most rational destination because the South Korean government accepts all North Korean refugees as their own citizens. So if you reach there safely, then you will have a safe haven to breathe in. But if you end up in China via the sea route, then it is worse than ever. In China, North Korean defectors are considered unlawful economic migrants, and because the two countries are allies, those captured are returned to North Korea, where a life of terror awaits them. So if you end up in China in this way, you will eventually end up in North Korea. There's also one more option. If you depart from the west coast and are able to travel into the sea a little bit further, then you can reach Japan. Unlike the Chinese, the Japanese will not send you back to North Korea. So if you make it all the way to Japan, you're free to go wherever you want from there. But avoiding the North Korean Sea Patrol on this long voyage is something near to impossible. Moving forward, the next way to escape North Korea is through the north border into China. It's a little bit safer than the DMZ border, but still very dangerous. The border between China and North Korea consists of the Yalu River. There is a high chance that while crossing the Yalu River, you will be spotted by a Korean sniper in the area, and there are always dead bodies floating downstream from that location. There is a high presence of North Korean military in the area, who are waiting even in underground holes to surprise the escapers and shoot them on sight. Let's say with all that, you are still able to make it to China without dying or being caught. Still, your life won't be easier in China either. In most cases, you will end up arrested by Chinese authorities and sent back to Korea, or be sold on the black market in China. Men are turned into slaves there, and women are forced into prostitution there. In some cases, they are sold as wives to Chinese villagers. So the best way to escape all those in China is to go to the South Korean Embassy or the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Beijing to seek asylum. But once again, it's not that easy. Chinese police frequently patrol the South Korean Embassy and the UNHCR office, waiting to arrest any North Koreans who try to enter there. Even so, if you are fortunate enough to be entered in either of the two locations, then the Chinese can't arrest you since you will have immunity within the embassy. But how long will this last? Even if South Korea authorizes your defection, you'll need to leave the embassy at some time to catch a flight to Seoul. So you're still going to step into China, and this is the time the Chinese will catch you and send you back to North Korea instead of going to South Korea. Apart from that, one other option is to make your way to some other country that has closer ties with South Korea. Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Thailand are among them. Thailand is the safe choice because chances of deportation to North Korea are high in other South Asian countries, if you are caught by the authorities there. So once again, you can head to the South Korean embassy and the rest is easy. But in this way, you still have to pass through China all the way. Another way is to escape to Mongolia via the Gobi Desert. The Gobi Desert is a vast barren region known for its temperature fluctuations and wandering snow leopards, bears, and wolves. It is not a safe place to cross. Despite this, the shorter distance to Mongolia makes it a viable choice. Also, Mongolia has shown sympathy for North Korean refugees, frequently delivering them directly to South Korea. However, tighter border controls have made travel via the Gobi Desert less common over the years. Finally, the last and arguably the safest way to escape is by being smuggled out. This is where Asia's Underground Railroad comes into play. The Asian Underground Railroad isn't a physical railroad. It's a network of Christians and many others who smuggle refugees out of China through Southeast Asia's Golden Triangle and to salvation in South Korea or the United States. Still, it's a long journey to get to the location, normally in China, where they are able to smuggle you out. And if you are caught, you are as good as dead. To sum up the whole discussion, for North Koreans to reach freedom, they must trade one circle of hell for another. It is not an easy task to escape North Korea, and since Kim Jong-un came into power, the security has been tightened up. There has been a drastic reduction in the number of escapees from North Korea since then. Well, that was all for today's video. So what would you do if you happened to be in North Korea? In which way would you like to risk your life to escape from North Korea? Tell us your thoughts in the comment section. Also, if you are new to the channel, remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any future videos we upload. Thank you very much for your time. See you in the next video. Until then, best of luck.